Michael, what I want to ask you about is your early years and your connections with Wales, particularly South Wales. So to sort of set the scene for you, where we're sat now is in the 56 group founder members exhibition. So this is 56 years on from the founding, at which you were present.
We lived in Penarth for nearly 10 years, you see.
Yes.
And I felt my art needed, I'd had no training. So I felt my art needed some training, some input into proper training. So I did life class at Cardiff College of Art about 1951. And that's when I met Eric Malthouse, you see, who was the co-founder with me of this. So it's a curious story.
What's interesting about that time as well is, you know, I've sort of researched this as well, is that Eric Malthouse came to Wales the same year as you, actually, 1944.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and that's when he started in Cardiff, and he arrived as a sort of a romantic realist painter.
Oh yes.
And then, you know, suddenly, and it's sort of significant to the group, there is this kind of conversion really to a more abstract way of working.
Yeah.
He's interested in the St Ives School and all that. So, would you have seen Eric's work when you were going to his life classes, or do you think?
No, we used to exhibit with the Arts Council in Cardiff.
Yes.
They were the main exhibiting organisation, and so we'd see our work, each other's work there.
Yes.
And that would be once or twice a year. There was only one art gallery started, I think it was the Howard Roberts in Cardiff, about 57.
That's right,
Yes, not far, yes.
And Howard himself had been a student, he'd studied at Cardiff, you see.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, he was very kind of enterprising to set that gallery up, and it ran for about a dozen years or so, but eventually it ran into financial difficulties.
Oh, I didn't know that.
He wanted to bring the latest kind of art into Wales, but he wasn't, as I understand it, primarily a businessman.
No.
So it was a difficult thing to sustain.
Yes, and the other problem we had, which led to the founding of this group, was that the Arts Council, for some reason, I don't know why, when they had an open exhibition, they seemed to feel the need to get somebody from London to come down and choose the work. And Eric Malthouse and David Tinker and myself felt this was sort of mediating things through London. And so we felt that was one of the things which led into the 56 group.
Yeah, that impetus to do it yourselves.
Yes, and the other thing was that we felt if we could exhibit together with a very small number, not more than 12, this was important, that everybody would have a chance of having something on the wall together with other like-minded things. It wouldn't be dominated by the traditional work, of which there's a great deal.
Yeah, because in a way, you know, history suggests that the 56 group was a breakaway group from the Welsh group, the South Wales group.
Yes.
Which, as you say, had 100 plus members, perhaps.
Well, I exhibited.
And the work was primarily traditional.
Yes.
So this was a departure.
That's right.
A brave thing to do.
But you see, straight away we ran into difficulties, and we couldn't get our first exhibition in Wales. We had to, I think Eric knew Tom Phillips, Phelips, who used to live, the family lived at Montacute House in Somerset.
I know the house.
And he, I think, was registrar at Worcester. And he very kindly found the place where we had our first show.
Yeah, 1957, I think, in Worcester.
Oh, yes, that's right.
So yes, the first show was outside of Wales.
And the next thing that happened was Rollo Charles of the National Museum
Yes.
gave us a show.
Yeah.
And then David Bell, who I knew quite well,
Yeah.
he gave us a show at Swansea.
In the Glenvivian.
That's right.
Mm.
And yes, and it all went from there.
Yeah. Well, again, by all accounts, David Bell was an exceptional curator at the Glenvivian, and of course before that he'd been responsible for Arts Council exhibitions, so he
Yes.
really was a significant figure
Yes.
in Wales in the 50s.
And he encouraged me a lot.
Right.
And I think he lived in Llandaff, and I certainly went and visited him in Llandaff
Yeah.
once. Yes.
What I thought I'd show you, Michael, now is your painting Bessemer from 1955.
This is one I haven't seen.
Yeah. So I'm going to put it here, right between us. I'll just get it.
Yeah, oh well.
So again, quite a big picture.
Yes. This was done as the result of a visit to the Port Talbot Steelworks. And I've completely forgotten it because I didn't realise it was so diagrammatic, the whole process. Yes.
It's interesting as well to think of, this is 1955 Bessemer, and in the corner of the exhibition we've got there your two sort of studies in gouache of the oil refinery in Llandarcy.
Yes.
So we've established you were a Bevin boy, so coal, and now we've got steel production, and there we've got oil.
Yes.
So there seems to be a strong interest in the industrial
There was.
in your work.
Yes, indeed. Yes. Yes.
I mean, this picture actually was exhibited in an industrial Britain exhibition in 1956.
Used to be.
Yeah, the label on the back tells me this.
Yes.
So, do you think your interest in industry, again, goes back to the fact you were a Bevin boy?
Oh yes. Yes.
So,
Yes, indeed.
but again, you said diagrammatic. There's a kind of abstract quality already beginning to emerge here.
Yes. Yes.
So, how would you have encountered abstraction?
Well, I knew the work of Piper, Sutherland,
Yes.
Paul Nash,
Yeah.
and it would have come up
Yeah.
from there.
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
And of course, quite a few of them did have connections to Wales as well.
yes. And in the early days, in '53, I met Ben Nicholson and Barbara Hepworth on the same day, and spent quite a lot of time. They're quite incredible. They gave you of their time. Enough.
So where would you have met them, Michael? Where
St Ives.
in St Ives, right?
Yes, yes.
Wow.
What happened was there was one of Ben Nicholson's dry point etchings of an industrial building. It was actually I forget what it was now, but it was a lovely dry point etching. And we went into a cafe, it was on the wall, and I said to the owner of the cafe, I said, do you know how much that is? And he said, no, but if you just walk up the road there, knock on the door, you can ask Ben Nicholson.
And that's what you did.
Yes.
I love Ben Nicholson's work. And
Yes.
Nicholson and
That in
Hepworth,
those
yeah.
days, what was it? It was 9 guineas. It
Yes.
was unbelievable.
Yeah. So, but you also, because you, as well as working in 2 dimensions, you're mentioning Nicholson there, you have ventured into 3 dimensions.
Yeah.
You had contact with Hepworth as well. I mean, I know, jumping forward from this, in early 60s, you designed a trophy for the NCB safety
that's
trophy.
in that book, actually.
That's in this book as well.
Yes.
So you were venturing into painting and into sculpture.
Yes. And it came quite naturally. And there we are, that's the National Coal Board Safety Trophy.
Right.
Now that was a national competition. There were about 200 entries, and it was judged by Henry Moore, Joseph Herman and Sir John Rothamsted. Yes.
Yeah, when you mentioned the name Herman there, again,
Yes.
someone who came into Wales and really discovered his sort of visual voice
Yes.
in Wales. And again, the industrial scene
Yes.
was what inspired him.
Yes. Now he was Polish, wasn't he?
Polish Jewish.
Yes. Well, I'm part Polish.
Are you?
Yes.
Oh,
My
right.
mother was half. My
Gosh,
mother was half Polish.
goodness me, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So when would your mother have come to Britain?
Well, they came. What happened was I've been trying to sort it out.
Yeah.
But originally they lived in Poland, and the first move was made to Bonn.
Yes.
And then, in the first decade of the last century, they came to England. Now, my other daughter in Yorkshire has been in touch with my mother's side of the family, and asking them why there was this movement, you see, because there was another movement, which was a Jewish movement, due to oppression and pogroms.
Yes, yes.
But they said this man said it was economic necessity.
Right.
Yeah.
You mentioned Jewish movement. Another member of the 56 group, of course, was Heinz Koppel.
Yes.
And he was Jewish, but German Jewish.
Yes.
And the family come out of Germany in the 30s. His mother hadn't been well enough to travel, and then Koppel discovered that his mother had been executed in Treblinka in 1942.
I didn't know that.
But by the family were here again, very near to where we are now. So
Yes.
again, how close your paths were when you
Yes.
you were actually thinking about it when you were a Bevin boy just over the hill there near Caerphilly. Heinz Koppel was living, and he had an uncle living here,
Good.
and they had a factory in Treforest, which was
Yes.
known as the Aero Zip factory,
Good gracious.
run by Jewish owners. And
Yes.
I talked to staff who are in the gallery today, and they tell me that the local people here said it was one of the best firms to work for,
Yeah.
Aero Zip.
Well, well.
So there's quite a strong kind of Jewish connection
Yes.
through Koppel.
Yes.
And would you have met Koppel in
I-
Dalros?
No, I'd met him at the early exhibition
Yeah.
of the 56 group. The only person, yes, the person I knew best was George Fairley,
Right.
and we actually visited each other when he was living at Swansea, at Caswell Bay.
Yes.
And I also knew Arthur Jardelli very well, because we used to spend summer holidays when he lived at Pendine, which is just opposite Ferryside. Yes, yes.
You mentioning Fairley and Jardelli, they lived near the coast, so if your early inspiration was industry, their sort of early inspiration was really often coastal.
Oh yes, yes indeed. Yes,
And I suppose there's a connection back to St Ives there as well.
yes, yes.
So did that come into any of your work, the kind of, when you lived in
Oh,
Penarth?
yes, indeed. All my early work was to do with the Dorset coast.
Yes.
And it's mentioned in that
Yeah.
book, you see, again.
Grew up in Dorset, of course.
Yes, yes.
Would you have imaged the South Wales coast?
Oh yes, I did paintings, yes. Sully Island,
Okay.
we lived in Penarth, and so all that area was well
Yeah.
painted, yeah.
Do any of those survive?
I don't think I got any, but
Yeah.
yes, coast has always been important, yes.
Are we doing?
Fine.
I was thinking about the kind of early sort of emergence of the style of the group. I know there was talk of a manifesto which never came off, but the sort of way I've hung the exhibition and the way I've sort of identified, if you can see certain strains and certain tendencies, is whereas, as you said, the kind of the norm was traditional realist, even slightly romanticised painting. What the 56 group was bringing in was a newness, which was either going down a kind of an abstract route. And David Tinker paints his first abstract and says, as a result of the invasion of Hungary in 1956, and with the sort of explosive action of the tanks, he does these sort of explosive abstracts.
Yes.
So you have the abstract tendency, and then through people like Koppel, you have that kind of expressionist tendency as well. So they were really quite new things to Wales, weren't they?
Yes.
This expressionism and abstraction. I wondered how you felt, because your work, as I see it, especially more recently, has gone perhaps more away from the motif, more towards an abstraction, would you say?
Yes, possibly, yes. Well, I think it was the effect of the American movements and abstraction.
Yeah.
As I say in the foreword.
In the foreword, yeah. Yes.
I was kindly asked to do.
Yeah.
That there were waves breaking in America.
Yes.
Coming across. It didn't help know about it. And it clicked with what we were doing ourselves, you see. And quite naturally. I mean, that sort of picture, that one. And you can see it everywhere. You can see it. Yes.
I mean, talking about that, the kind of, in a way you've hinted at it already, the two tendencies. You had the abstraction coming from within Britain via, say, St Ives and Nicholson and Hepworth, and then the abstraction coming from America. So you had this kind of two aspects that are informing what you were doing as a group.
Yes, but I think the British movement towards abstraction and the work of Nash as well, I think was terribly important. And of course it was homegrown.
Exactly.
And so that was quite natural. And of course someone, Alfred James, who strangely was not a member, I'd like to have seen him.
Exactly.
But we were stuck at 12, you know.
Yes.
And then I think he went to London, because I met him in his London studio.
Yes.
And he was splendid.
He was. I liked Alfred James.
You know Alfred James?
Yeah.
No, he did portraits of Dylan Thomas.
Yes.
The famous one.
Yeah.
It's
Dylan
in
Thomas.
the gallery
Yeah.
at the National Museum.
Dylan Thomas, Mervyn Levy.
That's right.
Daniel Jones, the composer.
Yes.
You know, all that kind of generation. You know, I knew Alfred James, the man and the painter. In fact, in my text in the book, I do sort of pose that question, you know, why was it perhaps that Alfred James wasn't in the group?
Yes, yes.
He seemed an obvious...
valid theory. Yes.
Similarly, Brenda Chamberlain, of course, was asked, but decided...
Brenda was asked, and she said no. And I think she said, who are these people? But she was slightly isolated. Brenda was on Barnsley Island.
Exactly.
And I think she needed to be, quite frankly.
Yeah.
It suited her work.
Yeah, I mean, primarily you were mostly in South Wales, weren't you? So
yes.
she was a long way away, and as you say, I think she probably needed to be there. Again, a very interesting artist.
Oh, yes.
I mean, perhaps a final thing to ask about, Michael, you mentioned the Howard Roberts Gallery. The other gallery that, according to my research, was significant in the early days of the period we're talking about, and the early days of the 56 group, was the Dilwyn Gallery in Swansea.
Oh yes.
Would you?
I knew it by name, but I never went.
Yeah. So people like George Fairley and Alfred James, you know, had strong connections with that gallery.
I'm sure they would, yes.
You mentioned James going to London. In fact, what happened was George Fairley went to teach as head of foundation at Croydon.
Yes.
And within 12 months, because they were best friends, Alfred James left Swansea and also went to London.
Yes, and I.
And you.
Taught him.
So in a way you had that exodus of talent. You had yourself, Alfred James and George Fairley, who leave Wales.
Yes, yes. 57 or 8.
Yeah. It's been a delight to talk to you.
Well, thank you very much.
thank you so much for coming, and it's, you know, to be able to show you some of your early work.
Well, I can't, if I'd been asked to sit down and do a sketch of what I thought this looked like, it's been nothing like this. I'm amazed. Yeah.